My dearest brothers and sisters, this is Tunia speaking. I love you so very much. Most people feel that things aren't as they should be, and that this is the fault of a specific group of Earth humans. And they believe that if only this group of Earth humans would start behaving better, then everything would be fixed. So, for example, some people claim that Americans or Russians or Jews are the problem, and the world would be fine if only they would stop ruining everything. But the flaw here is, of course, that things weren't fine even back when America, Russia, and Israel didn't exist, and back when those people didn't have any kind of power. None of those groups is the primordial evil from which all other evils sprang forth. Or people claim that communism or capitalism or wokeism or globalism is the problem. Again, awful things were happening before any of those systems were invented. Now, sure, some of those things are presently making things worse, but they're not the primordial evil from which all suffering originated. They're not the source of the problem. They're not the actual hole in the ship. Or people claim that white people are the problem. But, of course, even back when white people were only located in Europe, non-white people were killing each other on other continents. Or people claim that men are the problem. Well, there are human men living in our Pleiadian society, and our society is utopian from your point of view. So how can human men be the problem? Male babies aren't evil. Adult Earth men and women hurt or emotionally neglect small boys, who then grow up with a hole in their heart. And that's how you get rapists and murderers. And that's also why us Pleiadians don't have rapists and murderers. Our boys don't get hurt or neglected. Instead of asking, why are some men bad, consider asking, how can we stop boys from being hurt and neglected and growing up in an anti-masculine society? So it's not the case that men, or women, or Americans, or Jews are the primordial evil from which all evil originated. I know that some people might be tempted to claim that everything was perfect in a certain previous golden age, say 1950s America, and then everything went to hell. But that's just not true. There hasn't been any recent period on your world where things were good for everyone. Sure, things were maybe pretty good for white heterosexual people living in 1950s America, but that's such a tiny fraction of the total population of your planet. And even in 1950s America, some white heterosexual people got murdered. Even things as common on Earth as war and violence and sexual violence aren't actually natural. There are races out there in the galaxy who have literally never engaged in those acts, not even when they were more primitive, except in self-defense against other races who attacked them. You can't imagine the shock and disbelief they felt when they became aware of the reptilian slave empire. So why are Earth humans killing each other at all? This is a serious question, because it's not actually natural behavior. Some might say that the answer is lack of resources, but Earth actually has more than enough resources for everyone. Do you lack air? Do you perhaps lack water on a planet that is 71% water covered? Do you lack soil for farming in a country where you see hours of empty land as you drive through it? In fact, you lack none of those things. Free energy technology is already present on your world. It's just suppressed. Furthermore, there are races out there who would rather starve than violently take resources from someone else. because, after all, it's natural for beings who are fundamentally reincarnating souls to not be in resistance to death. So then, why are you killing each other? You're killing each other because you have been abused and murdered and raped and eaten and tortured and enslaved by hostile extraterrestrials and demons. That's the actual source of evil on your world. And then you copied their abusive behaviors and started mistreating each other. Or you copied the status and separation and division games of those extraterrestrials. Or you started feeling so unsafe due to their actions that you stopped being open and loving and good towards others, making them feel even more unsafe in turn. And yes, as a result of this abuse and murder at the hands of hostile extraterrestrials and demons, you Earth humans developed many types of behaviors that gave you an advantage at the expense of other Earth humans. And that, in turn, turned Earth humans against Earth human. But still, the actual source of the problems on Earth is the abuse that you suffered at the hands of hostile extraterrestrials and demons, and to a much reduced extent, the abuse that you are still suffering today. So, for example, a group of humans might decide, we together form this tribe or country, and we will conquer and murder others to improve our position. Or a group of humans adopt an ideology that helps them and hurts others in a more subtle way. And then, of course, other people will point at them and say, they're evil, they're the problem. But they're only harming others in the first place because way back, hostile extraterrestrials and demons were murdering you, making you feel very unsafe and defensive, and like you need to victimize other Earth humans to protect yourself. And while most hostile galactics on your world have been dealt with, even today there are still some people being hurt or killed by hostile extraterrestrials. These hostile extraterrestrials and demons are the actual source of evil that should be addressed, not other Earth humans. Deal with the hostile galactics and release suppressed abundance and healing technologies, and Earth humans will stop killing each other soon enough. And sure, there are a small handful of Earth humans who are working for hostile extraterrestrials and who are trying to keep these technologies suppressed. We have called them dark controllers in the past. And sure, these Earth humans should be held to account. The gray hats are working to hold them to account, albeit in a significantly slower way than we would like. The dark controllers are a quite diverse group. They're not uniformly men or white people or Jews or Chinese or whatever. So it doesn't make sense to point to men or white people or Jews or Chinese or whatever and act that they're the group from which all evil originates. Even if most dark controllers are men, which is true, that doesn't mean that most men are dark controllers. That isn't true. So it doesn't help to try and fight men or fight any other kind of easy to identify group. Instead, realize that the fundamental problem is that you have been invaded by hostile extraterrestrials long, long ago, and it's time to take your planet back. Now, average civilians shouldn't grab a shotgun and try to go find hidden reptilians on your world. Leave that to Earth human and Pleiadian soldiers, some of whom actually are fighting reptilians on your world right now, often underground. What you can do instead is transcend the evil that has been visited upon you by looking inside, doing your own work, healing, and then eventually releasing all barriers that stand between you and universal love and unity consciousness. Probably your calling in this life isn't to shoot a reptilian in the face. Instead, it is to rise above the evil that has been done to your ancestors long ago. You beat hate with love. You beat darkness with light. You beat unconsciousness with awareness. And as you're doing your own work, it is good to not demonize other groups of Earth humans. Yes, certain groups and certain ideologies really are a net negative, but they're just having an unconscious reaction to the age-old extraterrestrial invasion of your world. Furthermore, you probably don't have the authority to arrest people, so it doesn't help to excessively focus on people who are doing destructive things. I know it's tempting to think that if you tell wrong Earth humans that they're wrong, that they'll stop being wrong, but that's not actually how it works. If a person who is wrong is told that he is wrong, usually he will just dig in his heels and become even more stubborn. So either focus on your own growth, or if you feel drawn to improve society, create new and better structures rather than just criticizing things. Just criticizing things without offering a clearly better alternative isn't actually helpful. Widely known, off-the-shelf solutions that nonetheless aren't implemented probably actually aren't great solutions, as evidenced by the fact that they haven't been implemented. So pushing for them probably isn't very helpful. For example, if you think that the solution is just creating a libertarian or communist society, then probably that is not going to work, at least in the current context. Because if libertarian or communist society actually was the solution, then it would have been implemented and it would have worked already. And if you want to argue that, in fact, these things are the solution, it's just that people are too corrupt or flawed to maintain these systems. Well, that by itself might be the critical flaw in the system, at least in the current context and with the current level of consciousness. And the easiest contribution that you can make to increasing the level of consciousness on your world is to go and raise your own. Instead of fighting the bad people, instead of pushing for some known ideology, go inside. Then eventually you will find your path and you will discover a way in which you can help the situation on Earth, if you so choose. Ultimately, the evil on your world didn't come from other humans. Ultimately, it came from hostile extraterrestrials, and you will beat them not by infighting with other Earth humans, not by pointing at and blaming other Earth humans, but instead by going inside and healing your own pain first. Any time you want to point a finger outwards, look inwards instead. And after you have healed your own pain, go and embrace your brothers and sisters, for you are one, even if some of your brothers and sisters may currently be confused. They are still worthy of love, and you are still one. Go and create an environment that your reptilian invaders can't tolerate, which is an environment where you love and listen to each other. With that, and with all my love and respect, I will leave you for today. I wish you a very good week. Your star sister, Tunia.